Welcome. This is John Paul Mendocha, Dr. Speed Selling, and this is the Raging Verbalist number 223 for all of you who are keeping track. If you're brand new, welcome. If you've been here before, glad that you're back. Always hit that like, always a like. Why not? Subscribe. If you want to get bugged, hit notification on YouTube. We're available on YouTube and Facebook, and the Facebook group is Position to Win Book. And with me, as always, is the ever lovely Sandra, and she's going to be asking me the questions that you should be asking me, but you're not here, so she has to do it. Hi, Sandra.
Hello, how are you doing today?
We're doing good. It's a rush thing. Got calls, got things happening, and so all of that. And then, of course, Sandra has just she's just ebullient with light. I don't know if ebullient is right. She's glowing.
There you
Glowing.
go.
So there you go.
At least
So,
half my face.
well,
It
50%
works.
glowing.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Try and turn a little. Maybe that'll
Right.
help.
So what do we have on tap
All
today?
right.
What do we have?
All right, so we're talking about the non-Apple event. So wasn't there supposed to be an Apple event happening in March?
Well, if you watched all of these videos on YouTube and all of the people were talking about the Apple event that was coming and how spectacular it was going to be, and Apple is not uncommon for them, and they had tea leaves out and all of this, and they said, yeah, it looks like they're going to do it, and they're going to introduce some new hardware, and everybody got all excited, and they're sitting around talking about what it's going to be like and who it's going to be, and they have all of these pundits and soothsayers and shaman who are trying to figure all this out, and nothing. Apple introduced a little bit of just putting some new product out there, but there was no March event at all. So that's why we're doing it here. We're talking about how there wasn't an event, and we'll talk about where it's going to go in the future.
All right, so what's your perspective on the current ripeness of Apple?
Well, the interesting thing is that the Vision Pro that's out right now has had a lot of mixed reviews, and this is pretty common. It's interesting to watch Apple come up with something, the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, the Vision Pro. I mean, it's just every time they come up with one of these, there's lots of seemingly people who say, well, this is it. This is proof positive that Apple has lost their mojo and stuff. And all I can say is, having watched some videos and watched some people talk about it, and people that I kind of trust, that it looks like it's a technology that's emerging. And that's really the key issue, because if you bought all of the first gen, that would be me buying the first gen Apple Watch, which I keep just as a memento to tell me that I spent a lot of money on something that doesn't really work well. But so that's what I kind of see what was going on with the Vision Pro. It's come out, they sold out, and now we're going to watch it develop.
So what do you think is going to happen at WWDC?
Well, every time Apple introduces a new something, a new platform, let's call it that. And by the way, for those who don't know, WWDC is Worldwide Developers Conference. You can actually attend in a virtual way. It's really designed for people who are going to develop software. But every year there's a pilgrimage to Cupertino, to their spaceship, and assuming that we don't have like a major pandemic or something. And what they do is they give all of the coders where they're going next. And they're on a release schedule of every year, which I have to commend them on, because let's face it, when Microsoft used to say that, well, we're going to be on this release schedule. And then we had Windows 95, and then boop, Windows 98. And then, well, let's get rid of the years. Let's just start calling them numbers. So Apple is going to introduce the newest version for their phones, the iOS 18. That's supposedly coming out. That'll be kind of interesting, because Apple seemingly is, again, late to the party, but not really late, in a sense, because they're going to embed a bunch of AI stuff. The new version of Mac OS will be coming out. And then, of course, they'll be talking about the Vision Pro, because the Vision Pro needs developers to go out there and build code for it. Anybody who's been disappointed with any technology, as long as you're not not a smart person, understands that the hardware comes out before the software, because the software has to be written to the hardware. to the consumer, the general public, to the users, it's like, well, the software is the key. It is the key, but the hardware has to be there to support it. So I think WWDC is going to be a pretty big reveal about all of those things. And Apple has so many platforms like the watch and the TV and the iPad and you name it. They got a whole bunch of stuff they're going to release. So we'll see how much that will move forward. At this point in time in technology and where we are, each of those is going to be an incremental improvement. And for those who actually utilize the features, they'll get more out of it. I find that most of the time when I talk to somebody about their technology, and here we're focusing on the Apple ecosystem, is that a lot of people aren't even aware of some of the things, and I'll show them something and they go, wow, that's like brand new. Well, it's new to them, but it may be 5 or 6 or 10 years old even in some of the cases.
And have you seen the Apple Vision Pro?
Sadly, I have not. I have not made the pilgrimage to an Apple store and gone and put one on and all of that. I'm very curious, of course, because in another life, I have sold to many helicopter programs. And I can tell you that the helmets, the heads up displays inside of those helmets are not $3,500, but at least 40, 50, several $100,000 for some of the most complicated ones. So I'm interested to go see it myself. I have not, so it's just being legitimate and telling everybody that. But I can tell you that it looks like it's going to be a really kick-ass situation because, everybody wants to have new tech. I would love to have new tech and something that actually works. So we'll see what that's going to be like, and hopefully that will be soon. And but I have to be able to have the time to go play with it, and we'll see what that's going to be. Now, this isn't playing around, because what you should be doing is you should go to position2winbook.com, and pick up your very own copy. This is mine. You see that has all these Post-it notes and stuff. Pick this up. Most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. Position to Win. And by the way, everything we're talking about with what Apple's doing is all about positioning a product, positioning a piece of technology and what it's going to attempt to do and what it's going to carve out in the market. You can get it physically, of course, at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, wherever books are sold, but also you can get it at the website. You can then get it digitally at Kindle, Nook, and Apple iBooks. And then on the other side, John, the other side is we have Remote Work for a Better World, which is available exclusively on the Amazon Kindle platform, and that will tell you how to be better at doing remote work. Astonishingly, we are now 4 or 5 years down the road, and people suck at this, and they suck at it for all the wrong reasons. No need. You can go out and find out a lot, and it is quite a bargain. And then finally, of course, is the ever-present Raging Verbalist mug. Who doesn't need another mug, especially if you're going to be raging on? And we have lots to rage about in this world today. Makes every drink a little bit better, gives that little extra boost and kick. And even though it may be a placebo effect, it might just be enough to kick you over the edge. Okay, Sandra, what's our next probing question?
All right, so didn't you buy a new MacBook Air?
I did. Well, see, that's the interesting thing, is that I was out there surfing the old YouTube channel, and I found that there were some MacBook Air M1s, which is 4 years old, by the way, and that Apple was, now the guy didn't say this, but I kind of suspected it, but they were closing out a bunch of these. Now, for those of you who are not in this space, the M1 was the first iteration of where Apple was designing their own chips and putting them in laptops. And I've always been looking at getting one of those. I have an M1, but it's a Mac Mini. Very cool for what it does. It's quite surprising. And I ended up buying one from, of all places, Walmart, which I then later found out that Apple had a bunch of these and wanted to close them out while we're doing this and you're watching this. Who knows? Maybe they still have some, but once they're gone kind of thing. And there was $699, which for a Mac, a legitimate Mac, is actually quite inexpensive. Snagged that baby and ordered it from Walmart, and never thought I was going to say I'm going to buy an Apple product from Walmart. Doesn't seem like the right kind of crap.
And what was it like buying from Walmart compared to Amazon?
Well, there was a difference, and the difference was is that I ended up having to do it through the app. I wanted to find one in the store because I'd like to go in and pick it up, but no, I had to buy it through the app, and that worked out pretty well. The Not quite as smooth. The shopping cart had a little clunkiness to it, a little of this stuff, a little bit of that, and I ended up buying it, and bought it on a Sunday night, and it showed up on Tuesday midday. So that's pretty good. And but they did use a common carrier in FedEx, so that was pretty interesting. However, let me tell you that when it showed up, we have a couple of cats in the house, and they started sniffing the box and giving me this kind of, ooh, what's going on here? And there was a mildew scent coming off of this thing. So when I popped it open, a couple things happened. First off, is that there was the remnants of a Apple Watch, a $279 watch, not the watch itself, but the box. I did get the charging cable, and somebody obviously in their supply chain had taken that watch, shoved it in their pocket with the band, and then, because they could dimple it down, because literally there's an Apple box which is built like just a brick, brick shit house. Whatever, that's the only way to say it. And then they had it inside of another box, and then they had it inside of another box. I mean, this is like triple hull in this thing. And then they had that all filled up, and then inside on top was the remnants of this thing. By the way, when I called up Walmart and told them what was going on, they thought that somebody had shoved the watch in there, and I said, no watch. And I had to convince the guy to take the serial number. So that was really bizarre. Putting that aside, I finally got the thing out, and man, did it have a mildew smell. And don't know what that's all about. It was all sealed up, but it had that. And in fact, we're actually recording on the MacBook Air right now. So, I've been, as you know, from chasing the ghost of the machine, trying to solve a Zoom problem. And who knows, maybe this is doing it. Maybe that is going to happen, and we're going to be in good shape. So there you go.
And how hard is it to go between a Windows machine and a Mac machine?
Well, I actually have both, so I've been living in those two worlds. But I can tell you that it is very interesting to be on that edge. So once you're in that Windows world, you get used to how certain things work, and then you move to the Mac world and certain things work. And I have to say that one of the probably the most annoying things is, even though that we are in 2024 and the Mac is how many decades old and Windows is how many decades old, that there seems to be these barriers that stop you from working from one machine to the other machine, and they don't like each other and all of that. And it's like, come on, guys, Windows is the winner at 74% of market share, and then Apple has like 15%. But it's ridiculous that you can't do that. So it wasn't that hard for me to step back into it, though. Again, I keep having to relearn some things. So I think it's a little bit like learning a different language, a different pattern, and we'll see how it holds up. I have to say it has been I almost, because my fear of Murphy coming in, and Murphy always rides for free, saying anything like, well, it's been seamless, but it has been very smooth and seemingly works pretty well. And we're going to see if this is going to become my road laptop. I got a big monster Dell that you could fold out and make it a flotation device or something. But seems like this is working out pretty well, and it's smoother than I thought it was going to be.
And which path should someone in sales, marketing, business, and entrepreneurs take? What should they do?
Well, I have to tell you that the thing is, you got to find the applications that you use, and the things that people know. You are always going to be fighting that whole cross platform issues and situations, and you need to see what's going to work. It is kind of interesting now. I think it is in some ways, for some people, a religious thing where they say, I've got to use this or got to use that. To me, it's all about, how do you get the maximum performance out of it? I have a good friend, and he's a really super coder kind of guy. And his experience is, he buys the cheapest, biggest laptop he can find. That'd be a Windows machine. Uses it for about a year and a half. When it gets gunked up, as Windows machines do, he basically takes everything off, blows out the SSD drives, and then gives it to charity and donates it. However, what I can tell you is that, if you're sitting there on that fence and you're not quite sure which you're going to use, ask yourself, what do I do with it? And really write that out, because there is no right or wrong answer. What there is an underutilization. And that has been the case for my entire business career, because I have seen people underutilize technology day in, day out, all the time. And here's the other thing, and I'm going to give you a really good tip. Write down your tool chain. Now, you won't think of it software tool chain, which is, most people won't do that, except if you do it, you'll learn a lot. So, I mean, if you use Microsoft Word, you write down Microsoft Word. If you use Google Docs like we do, you put down Google Docs. And now what you want to do is you want to figure out how to get the most out of whatever you're going to do, because time is money. And if you're in sales, marketing, you're in business, what you always have to worry about is not getting things done. And you should always ask yourself, how do I get this done more effectively and faster? And now with AI coming on board, which is where Apple is going to go, which is where Windows is going to go, which is where everybody's going to go, but you really still have to know how to utilize the tools. And if you do that, you're going to be in better shape. So it was a non-event for Apple. It wasn't a non-event for me, because I ended up buying a new Mac Air and MacBook Air. We'll see how it's going to work. I'll keep you posted up on that. And it's all about, if it works, keep it. And if it doesn't, you got to move on and get to the next thing. And so for myself, John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling, and for the ever lovely Sandra, thank you for joining us on The Raging Verbalist. Catch us every Friday, and The Raging Verbalist is out.